Hi, this is Ken and Michelle Bass.
And you're listening to the Resilient Parenting Podcast.
Getting ready to talk to another guest on our podcast, another episode.
Yes.
This is somebody we've talked with before.
It is. She's so fun.
She's a lot of fun.
She actually left. It's not on the recording, but she left our conversation with a dad joke.
Yeah.
But boy, in the interview, she gets you a couple times, and I just loved it.
I did too. I like it too. I love being gotten. Well, what led to it, I think, though, is I was reading something the other day about how you can find good names for your baby, but it's always difficult to find just the right name. Yeah, we went through this several times.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's not the easiest thing. Some parents do go to Reddit to share some of the more outlandish names they've encountered. Like somebody knew triplets named Cinnamon, Rosemary, and Paprika. And people actually did call them the Spice Girls.
Oh, I'm sorry, girls. I'm sorry.
One person said their partner's a midwife, and she once looked after a couple who were intending to call their daughter Urethra. They didn't know what it meant. They just liked how it sounded.
Oh, dear. Please look up the meaning of the word before you name your child.
But, our guest told this joke after we were finished chatting with them. And this one was about people who tried to use the name Lance, because Lance, if you look it up in history, it hasn't been used very often in the last couple of centuries. If you think about it, the name Lance. However, in medieval times, people were named Lance a lot.
Wah, wah, wah.
Bada boom. That was what she told that you don't get to hear on the air, but
and I
guess you just did. Okay.
Well, and I didn't even realize she was setting up a joke.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea. I was totally like, oh, yeah? Yeah? And then when she did it, I was just like, oh.
But everything she has to
got
say
me.
is much more than jokes, of course.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So we're really excited for you to listen to the next episode. And without further ado.
Further ado.
Ado. What is it?
Adieu.
Adieu.
Adieu. Adieu.
And you, and you, and you.
You did that too much. Or should I say you did that a lot?
Well, we are super excited to have Charlye Hahn back on the Resilient Parenting Podcast to talk to us about, I would say, fairly new nonprofit for the Love of Kinship. And she's going to give us an update on anything related to kin, not this one next to me, but kin, K-I-N,
Oh.
ship.
Actually, true story.
Yes.
One time in Starbucks about a month ago, and they wanted my name on the cup of coffee.
Yes.
They spelled it K-I-N.
Oh, maybe Ken will be in your future.
K-I-N? No, that ship has sailed.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
I'll be here all night.
I know. I was like, but this ship's not leaving. You're staying. So let's get into this. Charlye, welcome.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I am super excited. As everybody knows, I officially retired in July. And the only thing I found that I retired from was a paycheck. I'm still doing 40 hours a week trying to get this new nonprofit up and running. We do have our nonprofit status. That's official. We do have a website that's official. We do have a way to get a hold of us via email. That's official. We do have our board of directors. That's official. And we have an interim, please put this word in bold letters, interim executive director by the name of Charlye Hahn.
What?
Well, let me ask this. You retired, like most people end up doing at some point in time, but then you take on another 40-hour job. You start up this whole thing. Why did you keep going like this? And you could have just taken it easy and taken off for the Bahamas or something, huh?
I actually could have, and my husband probably wishes I would have. However, when some changes came down in the Southwest Area Agency on Aging, and the funding was not being directed to support kinship families, it totally broke my heart because we have so many kinship families that are outside of the system that are not getting support, are not getting resources. And so for me, when I was approached to help get this new nonprofit up and running by Ellie Giffen and Amanda Farley, my husband said, honey, figure out what it is that you want to do. Well, what I want to do is continue to support those kinship families that are so near and dear to my heart.
Wow. Your heart is just the biggest. I don't even know how to describe her heart. It's like the
Yeah, huge.
So I'm sorry to hear about the funding, and I know a lot of nonprofits are feeling different cuts and things going on. So let's talk about For the Love of Kin, and that's the number 4, and the love of kinship. I'm gonna add ship right now to my kin because I keep wanting to shorten it.
Can we, for those who may not be up to speed on all this, why is kinship so important, and exactly what is kinship?
Okay, yeah. Let's start at the very beginning.
Absolutely perfect. Kinship is any family member that has stepped up to raise a family member's child. It could be a grandmother, it could be an aunt, it could be an uncle, it could be a sibling. We actually supported a sibling that was 21 years old and took in her 15-year-old sister. So these are the kind of things that we're looking at. Now, there's 2 paths well, there's actually 4, which is what the 4 in For the Love of Kinship stands for. You can come into it via formal foster care, which gives you a monthly reimbursement stipend per child to take in your relative children through the system. You can come into it informally outside of the system, which and some of my parents don't apply for it, but if you do apply for it, you get a very small stipend for the whole family. It's not per child, it's per family, and it's $309 a month to help offset those costs. And unfortunately, most of our families are already on fixed incomes because they retired. They thought these were their golden years, and all of a sudden they're parents again. You can do adoption, and a lot of places where they could get resources and help. Once that adoption goes through, then they're no longer eligible or considered kinship. We, however, do consider it. I still had 4 grandchildren older than them, even though they were now adopted. And it just is amazing, all of these doors that close once you adopt. And it is sad because your income didn't change.
Right.
You're still a kinship family. And then you can also come into it very informally, where mom or dad drops them off, says, I'll be back. And then for whatever reason, they're not coming back. And then we go try to help them get guardianship or other legal status so they can get him into school. They can get him seen by a doctor. They can get him to the dentist. So those are the kind of things. And we do encourage our families to apply for that relative or child only grant here in Idaho, because then that gives that child Medicaid.
Okay, so what resources are out there now for families that are, like support groups, or if they need help or just feel like they're alone in all of this?
Good question. We look at For the Love of Kinship, similar to a clearinghouse. So we get a need. We have relationships with other organizations, nonprofits, where we can kind of get them the resource that they need. So right now, For the Love of Kinship does monthly support groups, one in Payette and one in Boise. We are looking to expand that at some point. I just went to a support group up in Emmett and talked with them, and they are going to open their meeting up to support kinship families. It was originally just for foster and adopt, but they didn't realize that kinship families are at such a disadvantage if they're not through the system. So that's one more resource up. There's a support group up in Emmett. We do activities, family activities, because a lot of the times when we take on that role as an older adult, we forget that it's okay to have fun. We've all of a sudden become the disciplinarian. And I want to remind my relatives, we were fun. You know, we were the Disneyland folks before we stepped into the role of full-time. It's okay to be that Disneyland parent, to have fun. So we do fun activities. In December, we are going to do a breakfast with Santa because being a new nonprofit, we're kind of poor. So we're going to do what we can to make sure that the funds that we have spread.
So I feel like this is a good segue into if there are going to be people who are listening who would like to possibly help. So do you have a way for folks to be able to help your nonprofit, especially since you're basically a baby nonprofit?
We are a baby. We just got approved mid-July for our nonprofit status. So we are baby. We're just still holding on to the furniture. We haven't let go and started walking. I'm just saying. So yes, we are looking, we have a donate button on our webpage that is getting ready to go active. It has not been active. We've been doing all of the banking, making sure that all the insurance and all of that stuff is in place, because what we don't want to do, honestly, Michelle, I don't look good in orange. I don't want to be behind bars. Okay. So we're kind of doing those steps to make sure that we get it right the first time.
We appreciate that because we wouldn't want you behind bars, though I think you would totally work that orange. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, that donate button you said is not active now. Do you have a projected date for that yet?
We are actually hoping to get it active within the next week.
Okay.
At that point, we've got our roles down. We're doing meetings to make sure that everybody knows what's expected. I've been out in the community, you know me, out in the community talking about For the Love of Kinship, because it is so important. And we will be working with the wardrobe again this year at the Vintage Market Days in Nampa. So people can come there, drop off their small bags for, a donation. We'll hold their bags so they can go shop some more, because those bags get heavy. And then they will be able to get more information about us at that event.
That's wonderful. Now, our focus is on the entire state of Idaho, and actually, I mean, nationwide, we have listeners from all over. But what are there resources out there, or like where's the limit for the Love of Kinship, or is there a limit?
Right now, we don't really have a limit, but if they call us and they're from Northern Idaho, they have RAP Inc. Relatives as Parents Inc. is up in Northern Idaho, and they do the same type thing, support those kinship families. And IPAPA and the village right now have just taken on a larger role in southeastern Idaho, the Blackfoot Pocatello area. So there are resources in other areas that, of course, we will be, directing them to, simply because it's so much easier to get resources in the area where you live. And I want to do a shout out to Mike Hershey with the Area Agency on Aging in Pocatello. He is really taking a strong lead in doing supports for kinship families in southeastern Idaho.
Okay, so maybe a shout out to Mike to maybe be on our podcast and talk about the great work that they're doing in Pocatello to reach those families. That's amazing. And I definitely agree that, looking at the resources that are in your community, and then looking and saying, oh, wait, we don't have resources here. So what do we need to create, or what as a community do we need to do to support the families that are raising their kinship, their kin,
There can.
not kin,
Can, not can.
kin.
I'm sorry, but Michelle, aren't you still raising your kin?
Charlie, that is so true.
Yeah.
So true. We were just talking about that today, weren't we?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we were. So what is so these support groups, are they in person or is there virtual options?
Right now, they're in person,
Okay.
and it's. I just feel I was glad virtual was available for those years when we couldn't get in.
Right.
But our families, the biggest thing that I found when I took in our great niece and nephew was I got isolated. I was not welcome necessarily in my group of friends because nobody in my age group had kids in my age group. And isolation, believe it or not, is a killer, because they've actually looked at when you isolate, your lifespan goes down. So being isolated is one of the biggest issues that we face with our kinship families. So yeah, we want you in the room. We want you talking to each other. We want you making those relationships that you can then call each other during the week or meet up at the park or whatever. We can't be all things to all people, but we can provide training on what is trauma. How do we reprogram a brain that is set in survival mode? How do we hold ourselves together when this child's having a meltdown in Walmart? These are all things that we didn't deal with the first time around.
Yeah. And also, something that you brought up that I remember from our other episode was just the change in role. Like you were saying, how you went from Disney grandparent to suddenly have to be the disciplinary, and the importance of remembering play, but also like the change in role. And then what is that in terms of like the biological parents of the child, and how your role with that parent also may change, and just the whole dynamics. It can get really complicated really fast.
And society as a whole doesn't generally get it. It's one thing. I heard an example today. I can show you an apple, and you can look at that apple and you can describe that apple. But until you pick it up, touch it, feel it, and taste it, you don't really know what it is about that apple. You can look at a kinship family. You can get all the book learning you want about what that means or looks like. But until you live that role, you don't really get it. And that's why having others around you that have tasted that apple is really important.
Yeah, so true. So true. So, for the Love of Kinship is an amazing new resource. And what are some agencies or nonprofits that you're partnering with, that you were talking about? I'd like to do a little shout out to them too.
Oh, yes, definitely. The wardrobe. The wardrobe provides new and gently used clothing. They also organize, they have their committee that does the Christmas gifts for our kiddos. This year, unfortunately, we're out beating the bushes again because the organization that covered our adopted children has backed out for this year. And that's just life. So we're looking for people that could step up and maybe take on one or two of our children. We provide at Christmas time, the wardrobe provides a complete winter outfit, coat, boots, or shoes, depending on what the child wants, gloves, scarves, hats, underwear, socks, and then one complete outfit with a shirt, pants, pajamas, and then two non-clothing items per child. So we're really looking, and I am kind of beating the bushes right now. And I've got so I've got about 12 of our children that have been adopted, taken care of, but I'm not finished beating, and we have until December, so we're good. But those are the kind of things. So the wardrobe is huge. Loving Local is a relatively new profit. Oh yeah, it's a relatively new nonprofit too in the area, and they do activities and group events. And she has an amazing support system to get stuff for the kids that she's working with. So Loving Local is one that we're working with as well. We are working with the Emmett Calvary Chapel, which is where that new support group that I was talking about, we're working with them. We're working with Freedom Youth Foundation, which is another nonprofit that provides what monthly they do either a basketball clinic, a soccer clinic, a golf clinic, or other activities. So Shane and Mary are just amazing with the Freedom Youth Foundation. So we're working hand in hand with them. We're working actually with the department, because the department now, when they do a training for licensed foster families, they've now opened the door for our kinship families to go and be able to do that same training. When they do a retention event, they've opened the door and invited our kinship families to be able to go. Like we went up to Bruno with them, and there's other activities that they do, and they've opened that door for kinship families that are outside the system. We also work with, they're not nonprofits, but businesses that will step up and do things and help us out. Promise and the Grace Bible Church in Nampa do a once a month support or relief night for foster families. And they've opened their door to kinship families, because the one thing that I am very, very good at is keeping my ear out. If somebody is offering a service to children in care, I want to see if we can get that same service for children outside of care, because $309 a month for the whole family, no matter how many children you take in, doesn't go very far. So free activities are just huge. Foster and Heart, we work with Foster and Heart. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but we just, whoever we can work with, we work with.
And it sounds like there's more nonprofits and organizations that you haven't found yet that are going to love working with you. So, you brought up something, and I think you may not know the answer to this, but about how many families or how many kids would you say are in kinship placements in Idaho?
I don't know the exact number, but because this group is coming in, kind of taking over where IRAP left off. And we had 147 families that we supported through IRAP. When we changed over, right now, I only have 89 on my current list. But if they want to join, they want to be part of this, what we're doing, then by all means, they can go out to our website for theloveofkinship.org, and there's buttons available to get them. They can send us an email. We can get them on our email list to keep them informed of upcoming meetings and upcoming things and resources. Any resource that I find, I put out on our webpage, not our webpage, on our Facebook page and via our email list.
And if I recall, they get signed up with you and then you invite them to the Facebook page. Isn't the Facebook page just for members only? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, and I just wanted to say that I will also make sure that all of the links are in the show notes so that everyone will be able to, you don't have to be writing all this down. It'll be in the show notes where you can just click on it and go right there. I think it would be lovely to actually increase your numbers because there's a lot of families out there clearly who there's the need, and there's a lot of resources out there that maybe haven't been touched on. So for those listening that maybe could be that resource, please also reach out. And then for those families who are like, I wonder if I should. If you think you should, you should. Definitely a resource. And there may be someone that's going that needs to hear your story, or that you can be a support to each other, because what you're talking about that isolation, that's a real thing. And I know any room that Charlie's in is lit up in a good way.
Because her heart's so big.
Their heart's so big.
Well, and because I refuse to give anybody enough power to run my day.
There you go. And when you're talking the whole Apple story you were talking about, I think that's very, very wise. And I did think when you first said it, I was thinking, well, if it's an older person, would that be a Granny Smith?
I think you're absolutely right. It would be a Granny Smith, and we could get a little sour. So you might want to watch your P's and Q's there, Mr. Ken.
Don't mess with Charlie, kid.
I'm not forgetting.
You just got schooled.
I'm not forgetting that crack about, Michelle raising her own kin either. So.
Well, I think we should end on that because that was well played, Miss Charlie. Oh, I just love you. For the love of kinship, get a hold of them. Get help, and build that community. For sure. Thank you so much, Charlie.
Thank you. And Ken, I love you.
I know.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
This podcast is brought to you by the Idaho Children's Trust Fund.